Hello, everyone. This is Ron Watson, representing the PTC User Board of Directors. I want to thank you for taking the time out to join us in this next in our series of webinars. In this case, how to product structure in Windchill, which seems to be a very interesting subject from the amount of people that have registered and are joining. Heather is joining us, and Heather's joining us not from Orbital ATK, because as the world turns, Orbital ATK has been acquired from Northrop Grumman. So I just want to clarify that when you see, and she brings up her slides, that the company name has changed. So we appreciate Heather joining us. Next slide. So as you know from previous webinars, if you have attended, this is a joint hosting between PTC User and Punditas. Madhavi will speak a little bit later about it, but for now, let's just focus on PTC User. So this top part of the slide is actually a screenshot from our new website, which I'll discuss in a few slides. But our mission is to support, educate, and advocate for the community, for all PTC, I should say users of PTC software worldwide. Our membership is a little north of 20,000, and we had a huge amount of people at LiveWorks this summer coming to our booth and joining our event again, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. It's all about you, right? And here are some ways that you can participate, and we encourage you to do so. Of course, be a speaker, as Heather is today and has been before, and other speakers we've had. Share tips and tricks with your PTC users. That could be via the PTC user community. It could be via email. It could be via a local regional user group meeting. There's many ways to share. Participate in an upcoming panel discussion. We had a very successful panel discussion. We're planning one again. They're quite complex to plan, but when we execute them, they're certainly worth it. And then, of course, feel free to send any short videos you have. There will be something that will come up about that in a few minutes as well. If you want to contribute, by all means, contact myself or contact Madhavi at the emails below. Next slide. So we have a number of things, exciting things coming up over the next year. There's probably one or two that aren't in here that I just didn't want to communicate because they're not confirmed. But what is confirmed is our PTC User Technical Community Open Forum Winter 2009 event is locked and loaded. We have the dates in January. We have a beautiful hotel in the Embassy Suites in North Charleston that's connected directly to the convention center that will be where the event's held. We have beautiful space. It's going to be really nice. Register on our portal, and the early bird special is coming up to an end September 1st. So by all means, do register early if you intend to participate. In addition, book your room as well. We are having a good pull of early attendees, so that's a good thing. The agenda, of course, is still in its very early stages, but we know we will have tracks that are aligned to the subject matter that you're interested in. We will have absolutely a network reception. We're going to have a complimentary airport shuttle, Wi-Fi throughout the hotel and meeting rooms. We also will have a complimentary shuttle on Tuesday and Wednesday night to take you back and forth to Charleston, which is a beautiful town. So again, please register. We'd love to have you. We had a great group last year, or earlier, I should say, earlier this year in San Diego. Next slide. In LiveWorks 2019's already been announced, LiveWorks 19. So it's in the same Boston Convention Center. I can confirm that it will be in the Boston Convention Center for the foreseeable future. They've committed for many years moving forward, I think at least 5, if not more. So that's where it's going to be. So you know where it's going to be. You have an idea of how it's structured if you've been there. It's constantly being tuned. We spent a lot of time with PTC before and after the event, again, tuning it, understanding how we can improve it. So by all means, you know, we encourage you. We do not have our best discount code yet, the one that you know, is going to get you the best price. You know, we hope. There's always certain sales PTC has from time to time. That's good. We encourage you to take advantage of them. But we did, we appreciate it. We as PTC user had a great showing there, a fantastic showing, and we appreciate for all of you who attended and supported the event. Next slide. We also will have our open, our PTC user technical community open forum summer 2019. That will be just if you look on your calendar, the event, the LiveWorks event is actually going to start Monday night and then through Thursday around lunch. It's one day over. It's probably a scheduling thing with the event. I don't think that they intended to change that because we moved back to starting Sunday last meeting this June. So be aware of that. So our event will be Thursday afternoon and Friday. There is some discussion about whether the working sessions might be Monday, like the TCs used to be over the weekend. That's still in flux, but certainly we'll keep you informed about how this develops, but we will absolutely have a technical community open forum this summer post LiveWorks. Next slide. Fresh look. Thank you, Margie, and the rest of the board who contributed to really starting to make the portal new and feel new and fresh, taking advantage of the capabilities of this Socius platform we're built on. We're still building it out. There's still sections that are legacy, but as we go on, we benchmarked a lot of user group sites and took the best of what we thought from each and incorporated it. So by all means, check. If you haven't checked out the PTC user portal lately, by all means, go in. We'd love to hear your feedback. As you can see, as we speak, the splash page highlights the winter event and also upcoming bug meeting, a rug meeting for Badgerland in Wisconsin, which is a very active group. You can see they have a number of meetings planned, which is great. Also, the community section has been updated as well. You can check that out. Next slide. And for my last slide, again, this section has been updated to get all this webinar and previous webinars. Go to the library section. It actually says resources and then library. If you're a member and you have a login, you can access not everything on the site, but certainly the webinars. We encourage you to do that. We're spending the time. The speakers like Heather are spending the time. We want this information to get out. It's not copyrighted, right? Get out there and use it and leverage it as much as you can across your organizations and your people. So we appreciate that, and I'll hand it over to Madhavi from this point on. Thank you, Madhavi.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks, everyone, for jumping on. So as Ron mentioned, we are a PTC user partner and are sponsoring this webinars because we believe there is a common overlap between what PTC user does and what our tool sets do. So I am Madhavi Ramesh from Punditas, and we offer an AI platform that helps companies like yours strategize, implement, adopt, and support your digital products, whether it is, the CAD tools, the PLM tools, IoT, or even model-based definition and model-based enterprise. And the way we are doing it is by automating the discovery of data using our machine learning algorithms. We have 3 products: Admin Advisor, User Advisor, and MBD and MBE Advisor. So very quickly, the Admin Advisor, as the name suggests, is targeted towards the CAD, PLM, IT folks within the company, and it's an platform that helps uncover and warn the issues, critical trends, and regressions. So the CAD PLM admins can keep the business applications running with minimum disruptions. Our user advisor is an AI-based knowledge-centric system that helps users get just the information they need to get their job done using these enterprise applications. Our MBD and MBE advisor is a full-fledged platform that will help you educate, assess, plan, implement, as well as measure and track the progress of your MBD and MBE initiatives. Really quick, some screenshots. This is our user advisor that helps deliver specific tips, tricks, tutorials, issues, and so forth for the user within their context. So, for example, if somebody is looking at sheet metal, they would get only tips, tricks related to that particular issue at hand, which may be pertaining to sheet metal or assembly design or whatever the case might be. And it's also an AI-based platform for training users. And we have a number of customers that are using our tool set just from, enabling users get to the information very quickly and also provide targeted training. And we have something called knowledge paths within our tool set that will help users resolve an issue or learn about something in a very structured and a personalized manner. Really quick about our MBD and MBE advisor. As the screenshot here shows, you can learn what, why, and how, and who of MBE or MBD, and also in terms of the readiness models, you can strategize your MBD, MBE, as well as roadmap your MBD, MBE initiative. So it's a strategy planning tool as well as a tactical planning tool. We are the only dedicated, completely configurable platform, which means you can configure for your company needs, whatever, the maturity model you want or, people, process, and technology. And here's, the strategy page, which was, developed for a specific company. And I do want to point out that we are an end-to-end collaborative connected platform to engage all the stakeholders on this MBE journey. And lastly, we believe the MBD MBE initiative needs a living, interactive, real-time system that's based on the three core tenets, which is the people, process, technology. And those are the three parameters that are, geared towards making you successful. And that's what we have to offer. Should you need more information or if you're interested in finding more, please do contact me, Madhavi Ramesh, and I've provided my information here. With that said, I'd like to turn this over to Heather and try and hand the control over to Heather. Heather, do you have access to the software? To your...
Here we go.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, can you see the slideshow?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, welcome back, everyone. As Madhavi said, my name is Heather Pomerene. And since my last webinar here, Orbital ATK did get acquired by Northrop Grumman. So this, like Ron said, my slides will say Northrop Grumman as opposed to Orbital ATK from my last webinar. Now, we did become Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems, and I just wanted to give a quick little slide background here on what we do here. So within Innovation Systems, I work for the Space Systems Group. We are an industry-leading provider of commercial satellites used for global communications and high-resolution Earth imaging. And we're also a leading provider of small and medium spacecraft that perform scientific research, weather monitoring, and national security missions for government customers. We're also a pioneer in space logistics, including cargo delivery to the ISS for NASA and commercial in-orbit satellite servicing. And we are premier provider of spacecraft components and subsystems and specialized engineering services. So in my last webinar, we discussed the broad-reaching aspects of product structure and the fundamental concept of the importance of data quality. Now in this webinar, I'm going to briefly summarize what I talked about last time while getting into a little bit more detail with the actual application of the concept within Windchill. And also, please keep in mind that what I'm going to be covering today is obviously only going to be a small subset of the overall product structure management process. And also, what I will be presenting will be with reference to how we manage product structures here at Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems. So, looking at the graphics shown here, our typical product structures start with a work breakdown structure. Our top spacecraft outlines our lower level configurations or installations that are the elements which form the product. Now, within those installations, each subset of components or parts are defined. These are what will go into the design and manufacturing of a part. The top level of our product structure is flexibly designed to accommodate the varied purposes of any program and any type of product. Here at NGIS, we're mostly CAD-centric. Therefore, we have Windchill automatically built product structures when the existing CAD is checked into the database via a WT Parts Owner Association. We allow our product structures to be built roughly 80% of the way by CAD, with the remainder usually being bulk items which are manually added from a library to the WT Part product structure. We operate in a hybrid of a top-down and bottom-up design methodology, but keep in mind that what I will be presenting today will be akin to that, but there are many other ways in which to manage product structure. Also, although viable tools in the realm of product structure management, I will not be covering NPM Link, Parts Link, or the use of Product Structure Explorer, since this presentation will focus on the basic core aspects of product data model management. So I'd like to start to summarize what we discussed in the last webinar about what a product structure actually is and what its purpose is. So in its most crude physical form, a product structure is simply a bill of materials or a BOM. But a product structure is a BOM, but a BOM is not a product structure. And right here is where most users' understanding of product structures ends. They view a product structure as just a BOM or a collection of parts, but a product structure can be much more than a BOM. And for us, its principal purpose is to help users find relevant information, organize, and identify digital artifacts. Now, at its core, product structure is a subset of a larger data model. It is a hierarchical system architecture allowing for logical organization for a product containing elements, identifiers, interdependencies, and relationships. A product structure should be the backbone on which all processes are consistently maintained. It is also a data set that consists of reliable engineering documentation and information that can be used by other disciplines. By using uniform terminology and definition helps to define the elements in the end product. In addition, I also introduced the concept of meta-modeling and how a product structure is truly a collection of metadata applicable to fully define that product. Metadata can be inclusive of descriptive attributes and structural attributes. The former would contain information necessary for identification and physical properties, as well as 3D PMI or product and manufacturing information. The latter would contain information about how the objects are put together and their versions and relationships. If using configurable design, metadata will also include rules and choices or usage expressions. So as I stated in my earlier webinar, metadata can be inclusive of descriptive and structural elements. These could include PMI, tagging, requirements, specifications, substitutes, and attributes such as usage expressions, cage codes, parameters, occurrences, material, document category, as well as relationships and associations between engineering documentation such as analysis or test results, work instructions, secondary content, baselines, version, iteration, change control information packages. So creating a product structure can be done any number of ways. A CAD-driven product structure uses the auto-associate active link method, whereby it follows an almost one-to-one relationship to a WT part. But the designer has full control over the associations and can use their best judgment to determine how the product needs to be defined in Windchill. Next, there's also the top-down method. This assumes the product structure is being built in Windchill using the Product Structure Explorer and/or the browser. This method also can allow for CAD-driven in the future if CAD association is forthcoming. Now, with this method, WT parts can be made on the fly in the context of the product structure. Certain attributes and metadata can also be defined at this point. This approach can be managed by a systems or configuration engineer. A product structure can also be imported from a spreadsheet and can be saved as from a template or a like structure. But keep in mind, if you're going to take the template approach, if you're including documents in your product structure, keep in mind that the save as command on a WT part will not allow for a comparable save as on the associated documents. So product structure is the hub in all engineering phases, and it is the common thread for all development between requirements, design, and integration. Product structure is preserved by maintaining each aspect of the product data model throughout its entire life cycle. The metadata feeding into the product data model can be broken down into manageable tasks, which can include configuration control and lifecycle control, attributes, document and CAD associations, baselines, and requirements and characteristics. Now, depending on your business model, you may want to disseminate that workload across multiple groups or departments, or assign tasks to sub-areas within the data model, such as attribute mapping. When it comes to when to manage the product structure, along all aspects of the engineering design process, as a function of time and maturity, a product structure becomes the basis for which the entire product is defined. Product structure is a living document, and as a program matures, the product architecture should be optimized for functional performance. Now, at product initiation, the requirements are defined and the system is configured, preferably from a generic product template. From here, all specifications and characteristics are outlined for the system and their functions. And to avoid repeating work, already existing solutions should be considered at this phase. Now, during the design phase, the specific product requirements that were previously defined are then mapped to a product structure and possibly into a CAD deliverable. Reuse cases can be addressed during this phase of design as well. The concepts for each component are captured during this phase. At this point, it is possible to visualize the concept defined during the first phase. With a strong architecture as a backbone, requirements can continue to mature during this phase with minimal impact on the product structure. Now, if maintained throughout, then during the integration phase, the product structure shall be fully vetted at this stage with final verification and maintenance. A strong product structure is necessary to be the common link and to coordinate between all phases. Without this, it is very hard to manage because most coordination is done offline, and that is not a way to succeed. A solid product structure is necessary to reduce risk, identify any new risk, and reduce time spent between phases. Now, it is critical to plan ahead to ensure success, and knowing what your end result product structure needs to be or even look like ahead of time will help yield a seamless experience. So I'd like to cover a couple basics of WT parts and associations, which are at the core of product structure management. The WT part can be considered as a center point from which you can navigate to other areas, such as a CAD file, a Word document, or other objects. I like to tell my users that a good way to visualize the WT part is the anchor for a story or the index from which all important details can be found. From here, it is a vehicle for assigning work and capturing scope. But for us, this was the most misunderstood aspect of Windchill, and the second most misunderstood aspect was the relationship for which a WT part is responsible. WT parts contain attributes, but they do not have content. The associated CAD documents, if any, will contain the necessary content. The CAD, along with all other associated documents, help to describe the WT part. And this is why it's important to maintain proper associations throughout its life cycle. Here at NGIS, our current practice is to let the CAD document build the product structure to the best of its ability and to a reasonable point via the owner link. The rest of the product structure can be managed and added well in Windchill. We have a rule here that a CAD-driven product structure should not be manipulated aside from only adding additional items in Windchill or under the guidance of a Windchill admin, because care should be taken with an uneducated user base. When attempting to remove or edit quantities of CAD-driven elements in WT part structure, the user is prompted to sync this change with CAD. And regardless of selection of yes or no, when selecting yes, the CAD assembly is edited to remove an instance, but when selecting no, the CAD assembly is no longer driving the instance of that part in the product structure. So a CAD assembly structure is not always indicative of the desired WT structure or BOM. Sometimes CAD assemblies are used for the purpose of grouping or gathering components that are part of the product structure. These types of assemblies are referred to as gathering parts. The association and build actions create a Windchill part for the subassembly to parallel the CAD structure. However, as a subassembly is not a true assembly in and of itself, it has no place in the final product structure. Gathering parts are WT parts and are identified by an icon and an attribute. Now, an instance where this would be useful for, and for us we use this quite a lot, is for a collector assembly, where all of the pieces within that collector assembly need to report to the next higher BOM, but they also need to be reused in other assemblies and therefore can be maintained as one model. Another example would be the application of individual pieces used in cured assemblies. It's important to delineate where each piece of the assembly exists, but those pieces do not actually need to appear on a BOM. On to associations. Now, I'm sure we've all seen some variant of this table at some point. Each association between CAD and a WT part has a different function and drives different pieces of metadata to the WT parts. The default association is the owner link or association. This is an active link that enables all functions, including driving the product structure and passing the majority of attributes from CAD to WT parts. A contributing image link doesn't drive a product structure, but can appear on other product structures and pass some attributes. An image link functions with the sole purpose of contributing to the next higher level's product structure. This association, in conjunction with a contributing image link, are frequently used in the application of multiple configurations of the same part or assembly. Contributing content links only pass attributes, while content links solely provide a link back, and you do not allow for passing of any information. Calculated links are created between a drawing and its CAD owner link WT part. This is a passive link that does not pass any information. By default at NGIS, each CAD document has an owner-associated WT part that is created upon initial check-in. If a WT part already exists in Windchill, for example, for us in relation to a spec, upon check-in, the newly created CAD will be automatically associated to that pre-existing WT part. CAD passes metadata to its WT part, therefore all associations are managed from the CAD object. However, it's the WT part that gets iterated and needs to be checked in after each association update. Also, care must be taken when renaming and renumbering within the database. Obviously, depending on your business rules, for example, there may be a WT part that exists in a database with the current number of the newly created CAD item. However, that WT part may already have a pre-existing incorrect owner-linked build rule to another CAD item. Upon check-in, Windchill will attempt to associate the newly created CAD item to the WT part, but as a contributing image link. Because of this, the newly created CAD item structure will not drive the WT part structure, as intended, and both associations now need to be addressed, and the WT part might possibly need to be rebuilt. So to maintain association metadata integrity, it is best practice to initiate all change management functions from the WT parts. As I stated earlier, the WT part is the center from which all other documents and objects are related. So by starting with the WT part, it allows the user to navigate and easily collect all necessary related objects for revision. So change management is often improperly executed, at least that's what I see quite often. Now, a simple oversight in performing a change notice may result in more work, and then if effectivity is not accurate. If this is not followed, then that opens the risk for errors and more time spent fixing the errors than would have been spent on performing the function correctly the first time. Depending on what your business rules are and how your data needs to be managed and linked, this could be a pain point. Training users on why they need to follow a procedure in a certain way is very important. There are several ways to collect and revise objects, whereby the final product may look the same, but depending on how it was executed, there could be a huge mess to clean up in the background, or none at all. But to help get ahead of the possible errors by intuitively utilizing the tools available in the Auto Collect window, this will allow you to fine-tune and ensure proper collection. I have a short little video here showing what I was just talking about. So I try to train my users to use the, when they initiate a change notice in the implementation plan, to use the Collect Related Objects button, and within this window, to use it as a structure with associated objects. And then collecting all related objects from this window as well to ensure that all objects are being properly collected. And what you see in this Collect Objects window should mimic what you look at in the Product Structure Browser pane in Windchill. And I see this a lot, that people will revise objects and forget other objects and add those later. If that happens, then obviously that association has already been broken. And I'm going to, I have another little video here. This is a problem I see a lot because our check-in settings are set to automatically associate the CAD to its WT part with an owner link. Once in a while, a user gets an error upon check-in. There's something wrong with that association. This can happen for a variety of reasons, but like I was saying earlier, the most prevalent reason is a user might have initiated a change notice. They revised the CAD and WT parts separately. Let's say both from a Rev Dash to a Rev A, but they were not revised together in one command. Now this results in different revisions being associated together. This may be acceptable if your business rules allow it, but for us, we require revision syncing across all like-named parts. So for example, the newly revised Rev A CAD is owner linked back to the Rev Dash WT part, even though a newly revised Rev A WT part already exists. When the user tries to check in, Windchill is trying to owner link the Rev A CAD to the Rev A WT part, but since the Rev A CAD is already owner linked back to the Rev Dash, an error is thrown upon check-in. If necessary and acceptable in your business environment, creating the contributing image link is adequate in the interim until the associations are fully fixed. All of these minor, often overlooked mistakes can snowball and cause more issues in other aspects of Windchill down the road. So again, another short little video here. I get this error a lot, and I decided to create a video to show users what happens when they initiate a change notice improperly and the repercussions down the line. So normally I allow them to create the contributing image link upon check-in, and then I go back and adjust the associations as necessary. So like I said, all associations are driven from the CAD object. So the edit association command comes from the CAD object. And after each association change, the WT part needs to be checked back in. And whenever I change any associations upon check-in for the WT parts, I do like to add a description of what was being done. Okay. Now into some attributes. So here at Northrop Grumman, we've created our own custom attributes to help us build a more robust meta model. But keep in mind, there is obviously so many more attributes available to help build that model, but these are just a small sampling. Most attributes can be addressed from the Edit command in the Product Structure Browser toolbar with a right mouse button menu. Usage attributes and occurrence attributes refer to usage within a specific assembly context. Now, within the Structure tab in Windchill for a WT part, we have created a default uses table view to aid in product structure management. The following part attributes are shown in the default table view on our Uses tab. We've got number, name, version, quantity, unit, and a find number. Another attribute often overlooked is the reference designator for occurrences. Occurrences in Windchill refers to parts used in a product structure within each unit of measure and a quantity greater than 1. An individual occurrence of a part within a product structure can store unique information and be identified by a name called a reference designator. You can view each individual occurrence of a part in the Structure tab on a Part Information page by highlighting an assembly part in the Structure pane and selecting the Occurrences tab. There is a row for the occurrence of each part used within the CAD assembly. There will not be a line item for any WT parts manually added to the product structure that aren't built from the CAD. Be mindful of the reference designator occurrence attribute, however. If the reference designator string contains more entries than the specified quantity, the opportunity exists that the quantity may automatically update accordingly. Now, other attributes that we use come from configurable design. Usage expressions help define choices, while the collapsible and configurable model attributes help to define how the WT part will perform in a finalized product structure. The build status attribute is one that is very helpful with determining the robustness of your CAD to WT part build. A completed status means there is a one-to-one relationship, while the build from CAD attribute displays which CAD document is building the associated WT part. Now, another way to view the CAD to WT part build status relationship is through the compare command. Now, here at NGIS, we try to ensure that all items reporting to a product structure are either in a released pending approval state or will be included as part of the change release notice for that product structure. We also make sure that the CAD and WT part structures are in sync with each other. Now, the only way to truly be able to tell if structures are in sync or not is by looking at the two structures, the CAD and the WT part, side by side in the structure browser. The user can compare the part structure to the CAD document building its structure. When the user performs a build, CAD structure drives part structure, or a reverse build, part structure drives CAD structure. The build is performed and the updated structure is iterated. The commands are different between compare CAD to WT part and compare WT part to CAD. The former is initiated when links have been broken and the WT part structure is no longer reporting the CAD structure. The latter is initiated when a build status needs to be completed, usually when lower level parts and CAD have been disassociated and reassociated, but the build status is still outstanding. Initiating a comparative part structure or CAD document from any of the launch points causes the part structure setup window to be displayed. The Compare to Part Structure Setup window displays the part structures to be compared under the left side and the right side headings. The number, name, and version attributes identify each part. By default, the part from which the structure compare action is launched is shown in both the left and the right sides. Build functions are initiated from the compare commands, and I always try to make sure that uninformed users do not perform any build functions without fully understanding the concept and repercussions of their actions if something goes wrong. A user can mistakenly strip CAD out of an assembly if not done properly. Now, when modifying WT part structures, it's very important to pay close attention to what is being modified and/or deleted. It is the best practice to leave CAD-driven structure alone and only add additional items that are needed in the structure, such as bulk items. Now, if a product structure is maintained from the start, this allows you to concentrate on the more serious pressing issues if necessary, without the need to clean up the data through the compare dialog, as shown here. The product structure would be stable and self-sufficient. If you allow the software to perform its job, the knowledge is captured and the cost and scope are contained. There is cost-benefit in increasing and maintaining data quality with a reduction of errors and failures, as well as providing informed product insight and sharing of controlled documentation. Using attributes such as gathering to yield a final product structure will aid in robustness, instead of needlessly trying to manipulate a structure. Whenever the CAD document and part structure are totally synchronized, that is, when there is a one-to-one correspondence between all the CAD documents in the current CAD structure and all the associated parts in the part structure, the comparison displays an equal number of mutually associated objects in each structure tree. When the compared structures differ, those differences are highlighted by several flags. You'll see them in the images there. The bottom of the compare dialog window will also display a list of associated attributes to the highlighted line item in the window above it. If this practice was not followed and disassociation happened, it is best to try to fix it or notify a Windchill admin or the like before letting it propagate any further. Now, the relationships between a part and a document, two parts or two documents, vary depending on how the two objects are linked. Documents of many types can be associated to the parts in a product structure in order to fully define how parts are designed and manufactured. Windchill has two basic forms of part-to-document relationships: described by and references. Described by document associations are used to associate a part to a specific version of a document. As the part and document are iterated, the association is carried forward to new versions of the part and document. This relationship is typically used when the document stores a model, drawing, or schematic that must remain synchronized with the version history of the part. Keep in mind that performing a save as of the part also copies the link to the original document. Performing a copy of the document does not copy a link to the part. Now, references document associations are used to relate a part to a latest released version of the document. If no version of the document is in a release state, then the latest version of the document is shown. References relationships are established from the part to the document. An example of this type of relationship or document would be a checklist or a spec. Keep in mind that they have a part iteration to document master link. Now, baselines. Baseline is a great way to manage or refer back to a product structure from a specific moment in time. Another useful purpose for baselines that we use here sometimes is for peer reviews for evolving product data. A new baseline can be created from an Objects Information Page action menu. Different versions of parts and objects can be included in a baseline without fear of breaking associations, as could happen in a change notice. A baseline is merely a collection of objects for the purpose of review. And as the product data model progresses, you can also swap out a version of an object for another version. And traceability. So you can use requirements link to capture customer needs, and requirements can be created as discrete objects in Windchill and assigned back to WT parts. As attributes, requirements can be managed as a set or organized into sections or specifications. Specifications and requirements can be linked to WT parts through upstream and downstream traceability on the WT part. So in the image shown here, the act of creating relationships and delegating each of the orange blocks of metadata back to the master data model or product structure is meta-modeling, which I briefly spoke about in my last webinar. Each link here shown forms the meta model for the WT part. It can also be thought of as a broader version of attribute mapping. While the whole picture shown here is what I like to call the product or the master data model. Now, if product structure is not maintained, intellectual property is not captured and the costs rise. Therefore, the inherent risk will escalate. There is no consistency and there are missed opportunities for quality control. If product structure is maintained, you greatly increase opportunity to understand cost, and all work is captured from one single data point. The Structure tab for WT part has the capability to display in almost its entirety the product data model by making use of the show high related information on the product structure and the ability to set up specific table views using attributes while having all other attributes available in the pane selection. This is truly a robust image of the product or master data model. Some of this information is also available in the Product Structure Explorer, which I did not cover today. But within the Structures tab, all subcomponents can also be managed. When clicking on an object in the Structure pane, it activates the secondary attribute pane, and functionality for editing can be managed for that single part. Product structure can be managed from the right mouse button menu or the command ribbon. The Structure pane can display all related documents and replacement and substitute parts, and while the Uses, Occurrences, and Attributes tab can display other critical attributes. It is of crucial importance to build up an appropriate information infrastructure or meta model. Without this, the iterating nature of most engineering departments leads to problems and inconsistencies that are, unfortunately, detected when it is too late, which then lead to exhaustive rework cycles. You should try to incorporate a level of detail into the data set such that the data model conveys as much as possible, without being overly complex, all information pertaining to the product. Having a somewhat high level of granularity allows for a deeper, more detailed, and structured set of information and manipulation. However, the major impact of granularity is on maintenance. This is why there is importance for upkeep of the product structures throughout the lifespan. By implementing this, it allows for a single source data point for multiple end users and disciplines presenting and extracting product information. Using the tools you have to build robust, well-defined product data sets ensures consistent and accurate product definition, reuse, and long-term archival. A coordinated team is critical to the success of a robust data model through the life cycle of the product, and what is shown here is just a small example. Each team player contributes to the maintenance of the product structure and the overall data model. When the process is employed practically through a robust but flexible management and communication strategy, controlling large data sets becomes more logical to all team members. All players involved from the start to the finish of the life cycle should take into account the importance of meta-modeling and adhere to a specific workflow. If one person is managing a product structure with the task of assigning metadata, it becomes burdensome, whereas if multiple players contribute to the effort in a similar fashion, the task becomes more manageable. Now, that is all I had for today's webinar. Madhavi and I were planning on holding a follow-up webinar to address any questions from this webinar and the last webinar. So if you have any questions pertaining to this webinar, if you could please email me to my address. My email address is shown on the screen here. And I also created a topic on the community site with the name there at the bottom. You can also add them there. And like I said, we will be holding a follow-up webinar to answer questions posed from this webinar and the last one. So if you have, like I said, if you have any questions, please email or add them to the community site. Okay, Madhavi.
Thanks a lot for giving us this presentation. And I do see a number of questions that have been posted. So thank you to all those who have posted those questions. We'll send those out to Heather, and we are planning to have a webinar, I believe, in 2-3 weeks' time. So we'll get all of those questions answered as well. Thanks a lot, everyone, and look forward to seeing you in one of the upcoming webinars. Thanks, Heather, for taking the time to talk to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.